The story kicks off with a horned woman telling a little girl that a rival clan finally notices her. She explains they only keep the kid alive this long because of a strict promise made to her late mother. When the girl asks what to do next, the woman mentions she has one blood relative left, Diamuid Bilipanian. She tells the kid to track down this human male and beg for his protection. Without another word, the horned women take off, leaving the girl completely in the dust. The little girl, Jaina, is stunned because none of this happens in the original story. She never expects to cross paths with Diamuid so early in her life. Jaina realizes she is actually living inside a fantasy novel, and Diamuid is her biological father who is destined to become the final boss. In the original plot, the protagonist, Lojin, goes on a massive revenge quest against him. Eventually, Lojin absolutely wrecks Diamuid for killing his mother, ending the villain's reign. Jaina remembers reading all of this back in her past life. The book describes Diamuid as a great magician who seals away his emotions and falls straight into corruption. He is once a respected hero, but after the woman he loves abandons him, society quickly turns its back on him. Vilified as a murderer, he falls into pure despair and literally locks his own heart away like a steel vault. A few years later, he fully snaps and becomes a real villain. He starts leaving a massive trail of bodies in his wake. In the novel, Jaina is a half-dragon who meets a brutal end at just 17 years old. When Diamuid witnesses his own daughter's death, his face remains completely stone-cold. He flat-out states that her birth and death mean absolutely nothing to him. Jaina sighs, wondering why fathers in her lives are always so utterly useless. She packs her meager belongings, disappointed but totally unsurprised by her garbage luck. In her previous life, she is just an ordinary girl named Min. But now she tries to process this wild turn of events. She is supposed to be a meaningless extra who dies before the main plot even starts. Her whole existence is literally just a few throwaway lines in a massive book. Stepping outside, Jaina is mesmerized by the falling snow, seeing it for the first time in this new life. The outside world is blindingly beautiful compared to her dark, gloomy cave. Remembering the horned woman's final advice to live as she wishes, Jaina starts her journey. She knows she is fated to die at 17 anyway, so she completely gives up on expecting any protection from her dad. Soon, she arrives at a towering magic academy that reaches up into the clouds. Standing before the armored guards, she reminds herself she only has 7 years left on the clock. For a dragon, 7 years passes in the blink of an eye. But for Jaina, it is more than enough time to actually live. She isn't looking for a miracle or some grand adventure. Honestly, she has zero attachment to survival at this point. She just wants to chill and savor the tiny luxuries she misses in her past life. 2 hours later, Jaina is chilling on a fancy couch, still waiting for an audience with her father. She sips her tea, figuring that a random secret daughter showing up out of nowhere is a massive headache for him. But the tea is warm and she really doesn't mind the wait. She decides that if they just keep ignoring her, she'll happily sponge off them like a stealthy little parasite. Living in this cushy tower beats the harsh dragon village any day, especially since the food is free. With an endless supply of books and snacks, she pumps her fists, ready for the easiest life ever. Her only real goal is to dodge her father, Diamuid, the man who once deeply loves the Black Knight dragon. The lore reveals that 10 years ago, the world faces a terrifying curse from the king of malevolent spirits. Diamuid joins a squad of the continent's absolute heavy hitters to end the chaos. And right there in the lineup is Jaina's mother, Bezrich. Unlike the rest of the arrogant dragons, Bezrich is actually warm and compassionate. Diamuid falls head over heels for her, treating their romance like absolute destiny. They even hold hands and make sweet promises about their future together. But out of nowhere, Bezrich coldly walks away, leaving Diamuid completely shattered as he desperately begs her not to end their engagement. Diamuid desperately grabs Bezrich, begging her to tell him the truth about why she is leaving. Coughing up blood, he listens in shock as she coldly claims the stench of humans makes her sick. She glares down at him, saying she never would have gotten involved if she knew he was such a persistent, troublesome human. Bezrich turns her back on the bleeding hero, declaring their ridiculous game is officially over. The lore states that this is how their love tragically ends, but the twist? Bezrich actually loves him with all her heart, tears streaming down her face as she walks away. Back in the present, Jaina realizes she knows this hidden truth from the novel, but saving Diamuid from turning into a villain is pretty much impossible since he completely sealed his own emotions. Suddenly, the heavy door to the room clicks open, interrupting her thoughts. Jaina jumps as a chilling voice demands to know if she is the kid claiming to be his daughter. The man steps into the room, threatening that she will pay dearly for wasting his time. Jaina slowly looks up, totally intimidated by the new arrival. It is Diamuid Bilipanian himself, giving off an absolutely suffocating final boss aura. Diamuid turns to his blonde assistant, ordering him to explain the situation. The assistant nervously reads from a letter, stating that before Bezrich died, she claimed the Lord of the Magic Tower was the father. Diamuid flinches slightly at the mention of Bezrich's name. He slowly reaches his hand toward Jaina, and she genuinely wonders if she is about to get smited right on the spot. Instead, he just grabs her chin, inspecting her face and noting her strong resemblance to her mother. Jaina stares into his cold eyes, completely unable to read a single emotion on his face. He leans in closer, observing that she even has the exact same blue eyes as him. But then he drops his hand and brushes it off, coldly asking, "So what?" Diamuid bluntly states that blue eyes aren't enough to prove they share blood. His face darkens with pure bitterness as he mutters that Bezrich despises him too much to ever bear his child. Refusing to hear another word, he completely ignores the little girl and storms out. Before leaving, he calls the whole situation a sick joke, leaving Jaina in the dust. Jaina sighs, totally unsurprised that he refuses to believe the truth. Meanwhile, the blonde assistant watches his boss leave, looking slightly annoyed. He mutters to himself that he is always stuck doing the dirty cleanup work. Since the Lord bailaid without a word, the assistant realizes he has to make the final call on what to do with the kid. He flashes a shady smile, looking down at Jaina like she is a fascinating new toy. Jaina recognizes him immediately. This is Michael, Diamuid's loyal nephew and confidant in the original story. He eventually inherits Diamuid's legacy and becomes a massive villain in his own right, known as a twisted genius magician. Losing his parents at a young age makes him completely obsessed with magic, totally warping his personality into something dark. Now facing this future psycho, Jaina watches as he wonders aloud how to dispose of her. He seems to absolutely relish the idea of intimidating a defenseless kid. Unfazed, Jaina calmly sips her tea and tells him to go ahead and do whatever he wants, leaving him completely speechless. Michael stares at her in shock, wondering why this tiny girl isn't shaking like a leaf. Recovering quickly, he tries to poke at her insecurities, mocking her for expecting a touching family reunion. He gleefully reminds her that the Lord of the Magic Tower doesn't give a single crap about blood relations. Introducing himself as her cousin, he flashes a fake, overly friendly smile. Michael leans in with a smug grin, offering to tell her the only way she can survive here, calling her Ashraid. Jaina just blinks at him, bluntly correcting him that her name is actually Jaina. He pauses, confused, mentioning the letter definitely called her Ashraid. She explains that name was forced on her by her dragon relatives. A flashback shows the dragons naming her Ashraid because her real name sounds way too human to them. Putting a hand on her chest, Jaina politely insists that he call her by her original name. Michael slams his hand on the table, complaining that having two names is way too complicated. He flashes a menacing smirk, asking what she will do if he flat out refuses to use it. Expecting a tantrum, he almost falls over when Jaina just shrugs and casually accepts it. Michael is absolutely flabbergasted. No matter how much he tries to intimidate her, she just sits there like an unbothered queen. Frustrated that she isn't acting like a normal, terrified child, he throws his arms up and dramatically yells that he will make her understand her position. He turns around, his cape swooshing, and barks at her to leave her luggage right there. Instead of throwing her out, he proudly announces he is going to give her a grand tour of the Magic Tower. Jaina looks out a massive window, amazed that it is suddenly snowing even though the seasons just changed. She realizes that every single window in this towering building shows a completely different landscape. Pressing her hands against the glass, she is totally mesmerized by the magical scenery. Suddenly, Michael yells at her to hurry up and stop dawdling. Jaina quickly snaps out of it and agrees. He threatens to leave her behind, bragging about how ridiculously huge the Magic Tower actually is. With a cocky snap of his fingers, Michael explains that the windows, ceilings, stairs, and walls are all heavily enchanted. Magic literally shifts the architecture right in front of them, completely blowing Jaina's mind as they walk. He warns that for small, weak creatures like her, this place is basically a giant maze filled with deadly traps. Michael leans in with a smug grin, trying to scare the living daylights out of her, but Jaina just casually agrees with a totally blank face. Michael huffs and tells her to stick close. Jaina thinks that if she didn't know his villainous future, she might actually enjoy this weird little family dynamic. But she grips her dress tightly, reminding herself she can't afford to forget the monster he becomes. After all, she knows perfectly well that she is an existence nobody here actually welcomes. Her only goal is to lay low, survive, and enjoy some small luxuries before her time is up. Eventually, Michael leads her into the Magic Tower's massive dining hall. Jaina's eyes immediately sparkle with pure awe. There is an absolute mountain of glorious, steaming food waiting on the tables. Jaina drools a little, silently deciding that being abandoned by the dragons is the best thing to ever happen to her, while Michael just stares in confusion. She notices that the mages at the table are completely ignoring the feast, glued to their spellbooks instead. Jaina realizes the rumors about mages having zero interest in eating are 100% true. But suddenly she notices all the mages are staring right at her, wondering why a random kid is in the tower. Whispers break out as they realize she is with Michael, questioning who she is and where she came from. Sensing all the awkward, heavy stares, Jaina innocently tugs on Michael's sleeve. Michael snaps his head around, blasting the room with a terrifying, glowing blue glare as he asks the mages if they need something. The mages instantly panic and apologize, scattering like frightened pigeons. Jaina realizes the novel wasn't lying about his explosive temper. Deciding to completely dodge the crossfire, Jaina locks eyes on a pile of delicious-looking bread. She starts eagerly grabbing the rolls with her bare hands, making Michael sigh in exasperation as he points out the tongs right next to her. Annoyed, he snatches the plate and serves her himself, scolding her about getting her clothes dirty. He mocks the so-called noble dragon clan, joking that they don't even know how humans eat their food. Jaina pouts, telling him she can manage on her own and to just leave her be. Michael scoffs, sarcastically asking if a lowly human like him shouldn't sit at the same table. Jaina mentally groans at how petty he is. He then drops a massive plate of bread in front of her, warning that leaving food uneaten in the dining hall is strictly forbidden. He smugly demands she finish everything on her plate. Jaina wonders if the novel got it wrong, because this guy definitely cares about being annoying just as much as magic. Without hesitation, Jaina takes a huge bite of the bread and her eyes absolutely light up like fireworks. Michael watches in confusion, thinking she looks like she is eating bread for the very first time in her life. Suddenly, his confident smirk completely vanishes into pure shock. Huge, heavy tears start streaming down Jaina's cheeks as she chews. Michael awkwardly leans in, asking if she is actually crying over a dinner roll. Jaina quickly denies it, but Michael totally flips out, aggressively pointing and yelling that he saw it with his own eyes. Jaina just insists the fresh bread is overwhelmingly delicious. Sweating bullets, Michael panics, wondering if someone secretly bullied her when he wasn't looking, absolutely terrified of taking the blame for her tears. He desperately wonders if someone slipped something incredibly spicy into the food as a prank. Completely unbothered, Jaina just keeps munching away like a happy little hamster, leaving Michael utterly lost. He stares blankly, still asking why she randomly burst into tears. Jaina totally ignores his question, hitting him with the ultimate puppy dog eyes and asking if she can eat even more bread. Michael weakly agrees. He just stares at her, completely flabbergasted and wondering what is seriously wrong with this kid. A few minutes later, Jaina absolutely demolishes dozens of rolls, cheerfully holding 2 more in her tiny hands. Michael pinches the bridge of his nose, seriously questioning if she is even human. He casts a soundproof magic bubble and demands to know how she can pack away so much food with such a tiny body. Jaina flatly reminds him she isn't entirely human. She explains that before shifting into a humanoid form, she weighs hundreds of kilograms, imagining her true dragon form completely squashing Michael flat into a pancake. Jaina's expression softens as she admits she never had meals this delicious back in the dragon village. A tragic flashback shows a tiny Jaina totally neglected by her relatives, forced to forage for raw mushrooms in a dark cave just to survive. Still in the dining hall, Jaina uses a pair of tongs to load up on freshly baked rolls, deciding she absolutely hates when people are stingy with food. She happily waddles away with a massive, overflowing plate of bread, glad that the magic tower lets her eat as much as she wants. But suddenly she stops in her tracks as a creepy, sticky gaze locks right onto her. She glances over at a beautiful white-haired woman nearby, quickly realizing the lady is looking somewhere else entirely. Standing alone in the massive, shadowy corridor, Jaina wonders if her paranoid mind is just playing tricks on her. Figuring it is just a misunderstanding, she shrugs it off and keeps walking, completely unaware of a sketchy figure lurking just around the corner. Later, Michael stops in his tracks, telling her he has some business to handle and that she needs to just stay put. He leans in close, narrowing his eyes as he admits he still isn't fully convinced she is the Lord's actual daughter. But his face turns dead serious as he warns her to watch her back, dropping the dark reality that dragons are highly sought-after materials for humans. The lore reveals that the very first elixir contained dragon blood, and legendary temple swords were forged straight from dragon bones. Since adult dragons are way too powerful, poachers brutally target the unawakened young ones. He points out that wandering around a magical tower without an adult guardian makes her the ultimate sitting duck. Michael bluntly warns her that this tower is crawling with absolute psychos, making sure the gravity of the situation sinks in. Instead of crying, Jaina just stares at him with sparkling eyes, thinking he is secretly super cool, leaving Michael utterly confused by her chill reaction. She flashes a bright, innocent smile and warmly thanks him for worrying about her well-being. Michael's brain completely short-circuits. Blushing furiously, he yells that he isn't worried at all and barks at her not to do anything reckless while he is gone. Jaina watches him storm off in a huff, hilariously clueless as to why he just randomly lost his temper. She realizes that even without the final boss around, Michael still acts like his typical prickly, tsundere-self from the novel. But she just shrugs it off, figuring she will adapt to the plot changes as they come. Deciding to worry about the heavy stuff later, she happily wanders down the grand, magical staircase. Spotting a massive library, she decides the best way to kill time is to dive into a good book. But looking up at the towering, sky-high bookshelves, she realizes her tiny arms can't reach a single thing. Suddenly, a heavy leather book magically floats down and gently lands right in front of her. She looks around at the tiny glowing orbs of light floating in the air, asking if they brought it specifically for her. Thanking the little magic wisps, she marvels at how ridiculously convenient living in this tower really is. Clutching the book tightly, she smiles, genuinely loving her new environment. A flashback shows her hiding in the dark woods back at the Dragon Village, secretly watching her Aunt Urich teach magic to her cousins and trying to memorize the spells from afar. For a neglected outcast like her, having a personal magic tutor is an impossible pipe dream, so she settles for studying theory on her own. Now sitting comfortably on a sunny bench in the tower, she realizes this is the absolute perfect opportunity to learn human magic. She eagerly cracks open the heavy tome, hoping she can at least read the language. Suddenly, a green-haired man with glasses leans over the back of the bench, smoothly wishing her a good afternoon. Startled, Jaina asks who he is. He introduces himself as Morven, a mage of the tower. Jaina notes she doesn't remember his name from the novel, tagging him as a total random NPC. But Morven leans in a little too close, asking why a little lady is all alone and where Lord Michael went, his eyes shaded with dark suspicion. Jaina's dragon instincts instantly fire up. Dragons are born with insanely high perception, allowing them to detect presences way better than any normal human. Staring at him, she realizes that the unsettling, creepy gaze she felt earlier in the hallway belongs to this exact guy. Instead of panicking, Jaina quickly slaps on a fake, cheerful smile and cheerfully addresses him. She tilts her head innocently, asking the mage exactly how he knew she was with Michael in the first place. She keeps her cute facade up, casually cornering him with his own sketchy words. Morven visibly flinches, completely caught off guard by a literal toddler calling out his stalking. Sweating nervously, he scratches his cheek and scrambles for a lame excuse, claiming he just happened to pass by them earlier. Desperate to change the subject, he asks if Michael warned her about the research submission period, noting that everyone is on edge and it is dangerous to be alone. Jaina remembers this brutal setting from the original novel. Diamuid enforces a strict meritocracy in the Magic Tower based purely on ability. If mages fail to produce results during this period, they are instantly expelled, turning the whole place into a hostile, cutthroat warzone where outsiders are strictly banned. She realizes that as an unknown child wandering the halls, she definitely sticks out like a sore thumb to these stressed-out mages. Michael's warning about dragons being prime materials echoes in her head. She realizes Morven is absolutely bad news and she needs to bounce immediately. Flashing her brightest fake smile, she loudly announces that she is totally fine because her brother Michael will be back any second. Morven looks completely bewildered, asking why she calls the Lord's nephew her brother. Jaina plays dumb, arguing that he is older, so obviously he is her brother. She then totally roasts him, asking how a supposed mage lacks basic common sense. Morven's face darkens, furious that he is getting clowned by a kid. Before he can snap, the other mages at a nearby table angrily shush him for making too much noise in the library. Morven awkwardly bows and apologizes. Jaina uses the distraction to hit him with a highly sarcastic apology, mocking the uncle for not knowing very much. She immediately dives back into her book, completely ignoring him like a pop-up ad, while Morven desperately tries to get her attention again, fuming at being brushed off. Terrified by the angry librarians, Morven frantically apologizes and completely scrambles away. Jaina casually closes her book, totally unfazed since she's used to dealing with shady creeps. She decides to just chill by the window and wait for Michael to return. Later, a worried maid leads Jaina to a dusty storage room, apologizing that it really isn't fit for a little girl. Jaina smiles and insists she's tougher than she looks. But deep down, she knows Michael totally shoved her in this dump just to mess with her. Unbothered, she asks the maid for just a single blanket. The maid immediately rushes off to grab one. Michael had explained that her room is way out in the annex. He claimed that staying in the central tower would just tick off the Lord even more. He played it off like this old, isolated room would actually be more relaxing for her. Jaina stares at her little suitcase deep in thought. She wonders if she actually has a real shot at staying in the magic tower. A flashback shows Michael smugly declaring that he has ultimate authority over her fate. He agreed to let her stay strictly because it's a rare chance to study a dragon up close. Jaina completely played him like a fiddle, acting super cute and pumping his ego to get her way. Back in the present, the maid returns with a massive, fluffy comforter. Jaina completely buries herself in the blankets, feeling safe at last. Now fully relaxed, her cute little dragon tail completely pops out. She flops onto the mattress, amazed because she has literally never slept in a real bed before. She realizes she hit the absolute jackpot: unlimited bread, endless books, and zero abusive relatives. She cuddles into the pillow, thinking that if she can live like this until she dies, she'll be totally happy. She drifts off to sleep, hoping tomorrow is just as peaceful. The next morning at breakfast, Michael smirks and asks the brat if she slept well. He smugly reveals the room is rumored to be haunted, fully expecting her to be terrified. Instead, Jaina casually eats her jam-covered bread and genuinely thanks him, saying she prefers dark, cave-like places anyway. Staring deadpan, she drops the ultimate truth bomb: living people are way scarier than dead ones. Sweating, Michael casts a soundproofing spell and calls her a complete oddball. Jaina suddenly fires back, formally calling him Michael Sama, which makes him absolutely lose his mind. He furiously points at her, demanding to know why she is using such a respectful title to mock him. Jaina innocently asks what else she should call him since he rejected brother, leaving him totally flustered. Suddenly, a smooth voice interrupts them. The beautiful white-haired woman from earlier sneaks up and gently pats Jaina's head. Jaina freezes in pure shock, realizing her dragon instincts didn't sense this woman approaching at all. The mysterious lady smiles, casually dropping that she loves dragons too. She playfully asks if an old lady can join their table. This is Selvengia of the Green Shade, the tower's head chef and a massive hidden powerhouse who rivals even Michael. Nobody knows her true age, but she reached the absolute pinnacle of alchemy. The terrifying part, she views every living being as nothing more than potion ingredients. Selvengia tilts Jaina's chin, asking if she knew her very first potion was brewed with dragon blood. Unfazed, Jaina stares right back and mentions the temple's sacred sword made of dragon bones. Selvengia smirks, highly impressed by the little girl's completely fearless attitude. When asked, Jaina confidently gives her name. Selvengia stares into her eyes, noting they match the Lord's, and admits she is very interested in her. Suddenly, Michael slams the table, furiously yelling at the gloomy old hag for breaking his soundproofing spell. Selvengia just laughs it off, claiming the entire dining hall is her domain, so she hears absolutely everything. She calls Michael out for just messing with the kid, stating she actually has important business to discuss. Michael completely snaps, warning that if a hag like her takes the kid, it's guaranteed to be dangerous. His eyes glow with raw magical energy as he snarls that at least he doesn't view Jaina as a walking ingredient. Selvengia calmly warns him to dial back his suffocating magic aura before it crushes Jaina, while the surrounding mages literally choke on the heavy air. Michael isn't backing down. His magical aura flares up as he glares at Selvengia, aggressively demanding to know what right she has to say that. But right in the middle of their intense stare-down, Jaina politely raises her hand and asks if she can go grab some more bread. The tension completely evaporates. Both adults pause and look at her like she just grew a second head. Selvengia is totally fascinated. She pinches Jaina's cheek, wondering how this tiny kid is just chilling between two massive clashing auras. Michael immediately barks at her to back off. Ignoring him, Selvengia praises Jaina for eating well, but suddenly slides a ridiculously lavish seafood masterpiece onto the table. Jaina stares at the extravagant dish, still clutching her simple jam bread, noting that the dining hall menu changes daily. But she politely admits she doesn't really know how to eat fancy dishes, especially complex seafood. Taking a happy bite of her toast, she thinks about how she never even knew the world had this much culinary variety. Selvengia realizes with a shock that Jaina has literally only been eating plain bread for the past 2 days. But Jaina sincerely tells her that this basic meal is more than enough for her. She cheerfully explains that since it's a buffet, she can just stuff her face with delicious bread until she's completely full. Inwardly, Jaina has a much sadder reason. She knows if she gets used to luxurious food, it'll be absolute torture when she eventually gets kicked out of the tower. To her, maintaining happiness in the small things is the real key to survival. Suddenly, Selvengia's voice softens. She gently tells Jaina that things will get better over time and that the Lord of the Magic Tower won't ignore her forever. Jaina's eyes widen. She has no idea why these powerful people are suddenly trying to comfort her. Hearing their kind words gives her a weird, tickling sensation deep in her chest. Even prickly Michael reaches out with concern. For a split second, Jaina wonders if this is what having a real family feels like. But then the heartwarming illusion absolutely shatters. Dark memories flood her mind. She remembers her cruel relatives mocking her, laughing that she has absolutely no one on her side. She violently pulls herself back to reality. If her own blood relatives abandoned her, why would these strangers be any different? Plus, she already read the novel. She knows exactly how this tragic story ends. She remembers Diarmuid's cold face, knowing full well that her future death will mean absolutely nothing to him. She mentally slaps herself, vowing to stay strong and never let her guard down around these people. In this cutthroat world, she is the only one who can protect herself. She snaps back to the present, horrified that she almost went soft on day one. Michael is currently teasing her, joking about selling her off for twisted magic experiments. Later that day, Jaina finishes sweeping her dusty annex room. It finally sparkles like a decent place to live. She knows the other mages would just snap their fingers to clean, but since she only knows dark magic, that's not really an option. She refuses to ask anyone for help, doing all the grunt work entirely by hand. Glancing at a massive pile of dirty linens, she groans, wondering if she has to tackle laundry next. Wandering the halls to find a washroom, she suddenly freezes, hearing footsteps approaching. She completely flattens herself against the wall like a stealthy ninja as two exhausted mages walk by, stressing over their research assignments. Relaxing slightly, she realizes it's just a couple of random nerds passing through. She admits she's getting super paranoid, still creeped out by her run-in with that sketchy Morven guy yesterday. One of the mages yawns loudly, complaining that he just wants to sleep. Jaina watches them drag their feet, realizing the entire tower is in crunch mode for their submissions. She smirks a little, realizing she's literally the only person in this massive building with absolutely zero responsibilities. Suddenly, Michael pops up right in front of the two exhausted guys, startling them. He arrogantly mocks them, calling them pathetic slaves of the magic tower. The mages just stare, wondering if he finally lost his mind. Flashing a maniacal grin, Michael summons a massive orb of water magic, offering to wake them right up. He unleashes a freezing blast of water down the hall, but wait, Jaina gets caught straight in the crossfire and is absolutely drenched. Staring at her dripping clothes, she ironically realizes she doesn't have to do laundry anymore, but now she has nothing dry to wear. She imagines turning into her dragon form to strut around or starting a campfire right in her room. Both options are absolute disasters waiting to happen. Defeated and soaking wet, she sighs, accepting she'll just have to sleep in damp clothes tonight. Squishing her way back to her room, she figures it can't possibly get any worse. The next morning at breakfast, Michael is sipping his coffee when Jaina steps up and delivers a very congested good morning. Michael squints at her, asking if she's trying to act cute. Sniffling, she grabs her bread and bluntly states she genuinely caught a cold. Michael drops his cup in shock. He thought dragons were supposed to be completely immune to all diseases and curses. Jaina realizes that's exactly what her father Diarmuid used to say, meaning he still completely believes all the lies her mother fed him. Sneezing loudly, she reminds him that any living creature can get sick, especially since she's only a weaker half-dragon. Michael leans in suspiciously. He notes she was perfectly fine yesterday and awkwardly demands to know what happened, totally failing to hide that he's actually worried about her. Jaina hesitates, figuring Michael will just laugh if she admits she got blasted by his water magic. Instead, she mumbles a half-truth. She claims she had to sleep in wet clothes because her laundry wasn't dry yet. Shocked, Michael stares at her in absolute disbelief. He completely barks at her, yelling and calling her stupid, which makes Jaina jump and drop her bread. He aggressively scolds her, asking why she didn't just use simple magic to dry her clothes. Then it clicks in his head, and his eyes widen as he realizes she might not actually know how to use magic at all. Jaina shyly explains that her Black Knight clan only taught her basic dark magic, so she never learned regular spells. Michael scoffs, noting that dragons act so superior to humans but clearly lack basic survival skills. Suddenly, Jaina breaks into a heavy coughing fit, turning away to hide her sniffles. She looks up at him with tired eyes, completely drained from the cold. Seeing her shiver, Michael's face twitches with guilt. He curses under his breath, complaining about what a massive pain this is. Mumbling that he has no other choice, he decides to actually step up and help. Jaina sluggishly tries to stumble away, completely unaware that Michael is looming right behind her. Flashing a wicked smirk, he calls her a naive little dragon for wandering around cluelessly. He warns her to hold still, sparking up his bright blue magic with a mischievous grin. Without warning, he effortlessly swoops her up into his arms, leaving her completely stunned. but he actually has to use strength-enhancing magic just to carry her incredibly dense dragon body down the hall. Jaina weakly apologizes for being so heavy, blaming it on her sickness. Flustered, Michael snaps at her to stop talking. Annoyed by his attitude, Jaina pettily mimics his words under her breath like an annoyed toddler, making him twitch with frustration. She gives up, realizing she just can't reason with this guy while he carries her like a sack of potatoes. She thinks about how the original novel's Michael would have bolted the second someone sneezed on him. They arrive at a teleportation room, where Michael orders the attendant to ready the magic circle. He effortlessly recites the complex activation incantations with his eyes closed. The magic gate roars to life in a blinding flash of light, completely mesmerizing Jaina. She realizes the rumors are true. Michael's ability to operate such a complicated spell so casually proves he is an absolute generational genius. He tells her to hold on tight, flashing a confident smile before stepping into the portal. With a massive swoosh of energy, they teleport completely out of the magic tower. They arrive in a fancy, high-end boutique where the staff enthusiastically welcomes Chief Michael. Jaina peeks out from his arms, slightly overwhelmed by the intense greeting. The classy attendants bow respectfully, leading them deeper into the shop. Jaina goes pale, fully believing he is actually selling her off to the highest bidder. She dramatically decides she'd rather be forged into a cool holy sword than turned into a potion. Michael catches her panic and reassures her he isn't putting her on the market today. The eager tailors immediately start gushing over Michael, desperately wanting to dress him up. They brainstorm putting him in a dashing blue uniform with red accents to highlight his features. They completely fawn over him like a summertime prince, determined to capture his elegance. Pumping their fists, the tailors declare they can't let a handsome man like him just rot away in the tower. But Michael instantly shuts them down, pointing at Jaina and ordering them to make clothes for the kid instead. The tailors completely panic, reminding him today is his fitting for the royal palace ball. Michael calmly tells them to just cancel his outfit. The staff is horrified, warning him that Princess Elia will literally kill him if he skips the ball. Jaina realizes that Princess Elia is the greatest swordmaster on the continent and Michael's actual aunt. She remembers from the novel that Princess Elia is the biological mother of Logan, the main protagonist. Jaina stares at Michael, wondering if he realizes that skipping this ball might drastically alter the timeline and contribute to his aunt's future death. Annoyed by their whining, Michael threatens to literally nuke the shop if they force Jaina to try on too many outfits. The tailor nervously agrees and starts taking Jaina's measurements, asking for her age. Michael sets her down, casually mentioning he is going to step out and visit the palace for a bit. Sniffling, Jaina asks if he is going to see Princess Elia. He ignores the question and firmly tells her to stay right there. Jaina hilariously nods, telling him not to wander off. Watching him leave, she realizes he is actually going to the palace to deal with his aunt. As the tailor finishes measuring, she is shocked to hear Jaina is 10 years old. She notes the girl is so incredibly skinny that she easily fits into a 7-year-old's clothes. Standing in the doorway, Michael overhears the entire conversation and curses under his breath. He looks completely gut-punched, horrified to realize that this tiny, malnourished child is already 10 years old when he assumed she was 8 at most. Michael visibly winces, realizing this tiny girl has been growing up completely alone for the past 10 years. A flashback shows him as a little boy, standing in the pouring rain at a graveyard. He remembers his own crushing loneliness and realizes she might share the exact same blood as him. Suddenly, a memory of Diarmuid bursts in, looking absolutely frosty as he demands to know why Michael's research isn't finished. The cold-hearted lord brutally states he only brought Michael to the tower because he thought the kid would be useful, not out of family love. Snapping back to reality, Michael knows Diarmuid will never take care of Jaina. He quietly vows to feed her something better than literal bread scraps. His thoughts are interrupted when a staff member calls his name and pulls back the fitting room curtain. A tailor proudly presents their latest design while Michael sits back, completely unprepared for what he's about to see. His jaw practically hits the floor as he stares completely dazed. Jaina steps out in a stunning, sparkly purple dress, looking like an absolute fairy tale princess. Meanwhile, over at the royal palace, Princess Elia gasps in surprise upon hearing some unexpected news. A guard thuds to a halt in front of her, confirming that Michael actually stopped by the palace. Elia is totally bewildered because her nephew famously hates everything related to the imperial family. When she asks what he did, the guard reports that Michael simply raided the laboratory for a healing potion. Elia sweats, wondering why he'd need a basic potion when the legendary alchemist of the forest is already at the magic tower. She fires a perfect bullseye on her archery target, asking if Michael seemed sick. The guard confirms he looked perfectly healthy. The guard hesitates, awkwardly trying to explain the real reason. Back at the boutique, Jaina continues trying on adorable outfits, completely unaware that the palace guards are gossiping about Michael fetching medicine for his adorable younger sister. Michael nods approvingly at a purple dress, but immediately asks the staff to bring out even more options. Jaina spins around in a bright yellow spring dress, and Michael gives a satisfied nod. She rapidly cycles through a blue sapphire dress and a frilly red one, but Michael just keeps shooing her back to try on more. Completely exhausted, Jaina slumps over and asks why he isn't the one trying on clothes. She looks at the gorgeous fabrics, thinking they're too good to be true and wondering why he is being so picky. Finally, Michael stops the fashion show and tells the tailor he'll take absolutely everything they have in her size, leaving the staff completely floored. Jaina panics at the massive lineup of dresses, crying out that she can't accept all of this. She literally pinches her own cheek to check if she's dreaming, wincing at the sting. Ignoring her protests, Michael kneels down, rummages in his coat, and orders her to be quiet and drink up. Jaina frantically waves her arms, refusing to take the glowing pink liquid. Michael aggressively pinches her cheeks, demanding she obey. She whines that this expensive healing potion and all the clothes are just too much for her to handle. She admits she only wanted tiny, simple luxuries, not to be spoiled completely rotten. Michael leans in close and whispers, asking if she seriously thinks he's doing all this just for her. While the staff bustles around packing the massive hall, he tells her to listen closely. He explains he's just using his adorable sister as the perfect excuse to dodge his terrifying aunt, and he's only giving her the potion so she doesn't infect him with her cold. He warns her not to spill a single drop of the expensive brew before tipping it directly into her mouth. Instantly, Jaina's throat stops hurting and her body feels light as a feather, amazed by how incredibly this world's medicine is. Michael mutters to himself, surprised that human divine power works so perfectly on a half-dragon. Flashing a genuine smile, he warns her she better not get sick again. He vigorously ruffles her hair, calling her an annoying little punk while she whines about the mess. Michael looks completely satisfied with his good deed as the staff finishes loading up their purchases. Jaina fixes her messy hair as Michael announces it's finally time to head back. Later that night, Jaina lies in her cozy bed at the Magic Tower, completely surrounded by luxury shopping bags. She admires the sparkly, star-patterned spatial pouch Michael gave her to carry the insane amount of clothes, deciding she'll return it to him later. But she remembers him telling her to keep it. She doesn't mind the gifts, but absolutely hates feeling indebted, wondering how on earth she can pay him back. She tries to brainstorm what Michael actually likes. A flashback shows him acting like a total menace, threatening a mage to mind their own business or fight for his seat. Another memory shows him aggressively yelling at her over laundry. Jaina looks completely haggard, realizing she has zero clue what this psycho actually enjoys. She reasons that the current Michael is way different from the novel's final villain, but with his insane connections, he probably already has everything he wants. Pondering deeply, she realizes he must have seen all the rare items in the tower's garden already. Suddenly, she springs up from the bed like a coiled spring, struck by a brilliant idea. She grabs her new magical pouch, completely determined to execute her secret plan. She recalls a detail from the novel where Diarmuid walks through a secret field of incredibly rare leshen flowers. Sneaking through the dark, empty halls, she figures that since only her father knows the secret location, even Michael probably hasn't seen this legendary flower before. Knowing Diarmuid is supposed to be out all day, Jaina sneaks up to the second floor of the tower's wing. Meanwhile, the terrifying Lord Diarmuid actually just returns, greeted by his loyal staff. Completely unaware, Jaina creeps down the empty hallway. She stops in front of what looks like a totally normal door, but in reality, there's just a solid brick wall behind it. She remembers from the novel that the real path only reveals itself when specific activation conditions are met. Praying she gets it right on the first try, she grabs the doorknob. She closes her eyes, perfectly pictures a white garden, lets out a sharp whistle, and turns the latch. The door swings open, and Jaina's jaw drops at the breathtaking hidden oasis inside the gloomy tower. She immediately spots the legendary leshen flowers, absolutely stunned by how gorgeous they are up close. But she shakes off the awe, reminding herself she doesn't have time to sightsee and needs to hurry up and make a bouquet. Sitting amidst the glowing white blooms, she carefully picks a handful. Looking at the beautiful bunch, she realizes these flowers are the absolute pinnacle of what she considers a small luxury. A sad flashback shows that in her past lives, she never once received flowers for her birthdays or graduations because she was always the unwanted outcast. She admits she doesn't care if they have any practical use. She just always wanted to hold a bouquet like this at least once in her life. She happily sniffs the petals, wondering if Michael will actually like them, But suddenly, a bone-chilling voice echoes behind her, declaring there's a rat in his garden. Jaina completely freezes, her blood running cold as she instantly recognizes that terrifying voice. She slowly turns around to find Diarmuid towering over her like the absolute Grim Reaper. His icy blue eyes pierce right through her as he demands to know what she is doing there. Jaina's mind races. She remembers the harsh lesson from her past lives. If you forget your place and step out of line, massive misfortune always follows. Diarmuid steps closer, his heavy magical aura totally suffocating the air around them. He glares down at her, aggressively asking how a literal child managed to break into his secret sanctuary. He states that absolutely no one in the magic tower knows about this place, ordering her to reveal her trick. Jaina breaks into a cold sweat, obviously unable to tell him she literally read a walkthrough in a fantasy novel. Seeing her hesitate, Diarmuid's dark energy violently swirls around his hands. He coldly states it doesn't really matter how she got in. His eyes glow menacingly as he declares all he needs to do is make her permanently disappear. But instead of obliterating her, he just forcefully grabs her head. Jaina weakly whimpers that she didn't know the garden was off-limits. The tension drops slightly as Diarmuid interrogates her, asking if the dragon clan ordered her to infiltrate his turf. He accuses her of being a spy sent to leech off his massive magical power. Jaina just blinks, totally confused by his wild conspiracy theory. Diarmuid scoffs, cynically stating that whether it's humans or dragons, everyone greedily uses children as pawns. Jaina tries to correct him, explaining the dragons actually threw her out like literal trash, but he just ignores her. He calls her words a convenient lie, mocking her and asking if having a sly tongue is just a dragon trait. He strictly reminds her of his stance from day one, refusing to believe a single thing she says. He ruthlessly reiterates that she is absolutely not his daughter. Hearing this, Jaina's expression completely drops. She knows that look all too well from her past life. A tragic flashback shows her old relatives giving her that exact same cold, burdened stare before abandoning her to the streets. She realizes Diarmuid is looking at her like she is nothing but an annoying inconvenience. Accepting that this stubborn guy will never believe the truth, she completely gives up on convincing him. She decides to just play dumb, lying that she got lost in the tower and wandered in because the flowers were pretty. Bowing her head, she apologizes for trespassing and smoothly insists there's no grand conspiracy. Staring him dead in the eye, she promises never to step foot in his garden again. Without waiting for a response, Jaina slowly turns around and walks away from the towering mage. Internally, she lets out a massive sigh of relief that he didn't instantly vaporize her on the spot. As she walks off, Diarmuid suddenly speaks up, noting that dragons are supposed to be incredibly strong and live for 1,000 years. He coldly challenges her, asking why her mother died if her race is so invincible. He narrows his eyes, skeptically questioning if Bezrich is even actually dead. Jaina pauses mid-step, her dress swooshing as she processes his harsh question. She doesn't remember much about her mother, but figures that if Bezrich did lie to him, she must have had a desperate reason. Diarmuid scoffs at the idea of a hidden reason, calling the whole thing a laughable farce. He rubs his chest, bitterly remembering the very real, lethal strike Bezrich dealt him 11 years ago. But as Jaina disappears into the hallway, Diarmuid is secretly stunned, realizing this tiny, fragile kid just took his terrifying magical pressure head-on without even flinching. Staring at the spot she just left, Diarmuid remembers how eerily calm Jaina was when they first met. He recalls grabbing her chin, totally irked by her stoic reaction. Suddenly, a memory overlaps with reality, and he realizes she looks exactly like her mother, Bezrich. Without warning, the magical chains around his heart intensely throb, hitting him with a massive wave of pain. He staggers back like he just took a sucker punch, clutching his chest in pure shock. He asks himself why he still feels this agonizing pain over her when he literally sealed away all his emotions. A beautiful flashback shows Diarmuid and Bezrich chilling under a sunlit tree. Bezrich casually tells him that dragons can only bear a child with someone they truly love. Past Diarmuid looks completely stunned by the sudden romantic confession. She tenderly strokes his hand, explaining that dragon babies are considered the ultimate fruits of love. Flashing a dazzling smile, she asks him if that isn't the most romantic thing ever. Snapping back to the present, Diarmuid stubbornly denies the truth, ruthlessly telling himself the kid isn't his. He bitterly reminds himself that the woman absolutely abandoned him. Staring at his glowing hand, he completely rejects the idea that she would ever have his child. He coldly shakes off the old, useless emotions trying to bubble up. Crushing a delicate flower with his magic, he claims he only left this garden intact because destroying it isn't worth the effort. With a dramatic swish of his cape, he turns his back and absolutely refuses to care. Meanwhile, back with Michael, he awkwardly hands Jaina a bouquet of white flowers, calling it a sign of gratitude for all the gifts he's received from her. Looking totally dazed, he asks if she dislikes them when she hesitates to take the bunch. Squeezing her dress, Jaina points out that the bouquet isn't very well made and asks if he put it together himself. She quickly clarifies that she noticed his hands got totally scraped up making it. Michael blinks, realizing she's right. He sighs in exasperation, complaining that she's a massive pain since she got sick and he wrecked his own hands in the process. Jaina instantly droops like a wilted plant, feeling super guilty that he got hurt because of her. Michael quickly brushes it off, admitting that getting a bouquet isn't so bad since it's his very first one. Jaina instantly lights up with a massive beaming smile, absolutely thrilled to be his first. Michael completely freezes, mesmerized by how brightly she is smiling at him. He realizes she usually only wears a tired, resigned look, and wonders why she is suddenly so incredibly happy. He lets out a soft chuckle, thinking this kid is totally unpredictable. Snapping back to business, he tells her to listen up closely. He reveals he is actively developing a magical paternity test, so the Tower Master will be forced to officially recognize her as his daughter. Jaina tilts her head, genuinely asking why he would even bother doing that. Michael explains that right now she isn't an official member of the Magic Tower. He warns that if she gets into real trouble, he wouldn't be able to step in and help her with his official authority. He looks her dead in the eye, stating she absolutely needs a father to protect her in the future. Jaina stares at his boots, thinking that while dragon culture is pretty messed up, she actually loves that they have absolutely zero concept of a father. Michael is totally confused. She drops a lore bomb, explaining that dragon society is strictly matriarchal since the father doesn't carry the child for 10 months. Gripping her flowers, she flatly tells him she doesn't need a father or a family at all. She bluntly adds that she never had any of that garbage from the very beginning anyway. Tilting her head, she calls out his title, completely throwing him off balance. Michael tightly clenches his eyes, deeply disturbed because she sounds like someone ready to just disappear at any moment. Jaina shrugs, claiming she doesn't care about any of this complicated crap. With a sassy spin of her cape, she tells him to do whatever he wants about the father situation while she minds her own business. As she walks away, she wonders why Michael always seems to get randomly angry at her. She thinks to herself that he really doesn't need to go out of his way to worry about her safety. A dark image of cruel dragons flashes in her mind, reminding her that when she turns 17, she is fated to be brutally murdered by her own bloodline. Suddenly, she feels a sharp sting on her hand, rubbing a scrape she completely ignored earlier. She realizes that the pain only hurts once you actually acknowledge it. Picturing herself locked in a golden bird cage, she vows to keep her walls up, refusing to waste her final 7 years on useless expectations of love from Michael or Selvengia. Walking down the quiet halls, she firmly decides she absolutely cannot afford to be any greedier for affection than she already is. Jaina walks down the hallway, completely amazed that someone as grumpy as Michael actually receives bouquets from people. Suddenly, the creepy glasses guy Morven steps out of the shadows, smirking that she is finally all alone. He slowly approaches the little girl with a deeply unsettling grin on his face. Jaina breaks into a cold sweat, wondering how long he's been standing there since her heightened dragon senses completely missed him. Morven smugly taps his chest, revealing he used stealth magic to hide and wait for the absolute perfect moment. Jaina clenches her fists, her instincts screaming that this guy is total bad news. Morven leans in, chuckling as he mockingly asks if she knows why he came looking for her. He tells her that she always had either Michael or the terrifying Lady Selvengia guarding her all day. He admits he's been eagerly waiting in the shadows for this exact moment to finally catch her by herself. He angrily explains that he tried eavesdropping on her conversation earlier, but was completely blocked by Michael's heavy soundproof barrier. Biting his thumb in pure frustration, Morven realized that if they needed a top-tier barrier for a chat with a toddler, she must be hiding a massive secret. He glares at her, completely obsessed with uncovering whatever she's hiding. Jaina expertly plays dumb, claiming she has absolutely no idea what he's talking about. Morven ignores her innocent act, bitterly bringing up how she brushed him off yesterday like a mere ant. But then he drops a total bombshell, calling her his lofty little dragon. Jaina's heart absolutely plummets. Seeing her flinch, Morven takes a step closer, teasing her about how he figured out her true identity. He points straight at the red cloak she's wearing, noting she shouldn't be wearing it so brazenly. Jaina turns in surprise, realizing the cloak her mother left behind just totally outed her. Morven laughs, explaining he found the cloak's exact dragon crest in an ancient library document, proving his crazy theory right. He leans in and demands the truth, asking what kind of insane bribe she offered the tower's top brass to earn their protection. He wildly guesses if she gave them her dragon blood or teeth, but Jaina insists they didn't take anything from her. Morven's face completely contorts with rage as he screams that she's a liar. He violently grabs her wrist, completely losing his mind as he yells that he needs her blood to pass his research assignment or he'll be banished. Jaina stares into his crazed, glowing green eye, realizing this guy is entirely off his rocker. She desperately tries to squeeze out of his grip, but he holds on tight. Pulling out a terrifying syringe, Morven brags that he already cast a spell to strengthen his physical grip. But while he's busy reaching for her hair, Jaina's hidden hand secretly transforms into a sharp, scaly dragon claw. Knowing this is her only chance, she fiercely winds up for a counterattack. With a lightning-fast slash, she slices right across his face. Blood splatters as Morven staggers back, cursing his own carelessness. Jaina glares at him like an absolute boss, completely ready to fight for her life. Morven screams that she is dead meat as Jaina immediately turns and sprints down the hall. She furiously stomps down the stairs, realizing it's still daytime so she can't use her dark magic to blend into the shadows yet. She frantically wonders if she should run into the main wing and scream for help. But remembering Michael's warning that all humans view dragons as precious ingredients, she realizes she can't trust anyone else either. She decides her only option is to hide in the one place Morven can never enter. Scrambling through the massive library, she furiously dashes toward the secret door. She takes a deep breath, whistles the secret tune, and opens the magical passage. But the second she steps inside, she runs face first into Diamuid, who coldly states there's a rat in his garden. His terrifying dark magic swirls through the air as he demands to know how she got in. Jaina realizes she's completely trapped between two monsters. Knowing Diamuid will definitely kill her, she spins around and bolts right back out the door. But her desperate escape is instantly cut short. Morven, his face still bleeding, grins like an absolute maniac as he catches up to her. Jaina is now hopelessly wrapped in glowing magic chains, knocked to the floor. Morven gloats that she made it super easy by fleeing into the deserted annex. He happily begins dragging her away, eagerly muttering about draining her blood for his twisted experiments right this second. Jaina slowly regains consciousness, wincing as the heavy magic chains shoot intense pain through her body. Dangling helplessly, she thinks about how she was totally ready to die at 17, but she absolutely refuses to go out right now like a helpless ragdoll. She remembers her aunt's final words telling her to live as she wishes, and her eyes shoot wide open. Glaring fiercely, she completely refuses to give up the fight. She notices Morven is so focused on dragging the heavy chains that he isn't even looking back at her. Sweating bullets, the exhausted mage complains that even with weight reduction and strength-enhancing spells, this tiny dragon is still ridiculously heavy. Desperate to escape, Jaina swings her massive dragon tail with all her might, praying for a direct hit. Morven is completely caught off guard, totally baffled as to how she broke through his tightly bound chains right before he takes a massive blow. The impact violently shatters the magical restraints, leaving the crazy mage completely stunned. He gets knocked back like a bowling pin, spitting blood before passing out cold. Still tangled in the broken chains, Jaina pants heavily, knowing she needs to bounce while she still has the chance. But using her dragon strength drains her completely, and she collapses to the floor as her head violently spins. Meanwhile, in the dining hall, Selvengia catches Michael playing with his food and teases him to just go check on Jaina if he's that worried. Michael crosses his arms like a grumpy teenager, claiming she'll show up if she gets hungry. Selvengia gives him a knowing look, asking if he seriously bought Jaina's tough girl act. She drops some deep wisdom, explaining that when you grow up totally alone, you convince yourself that being by yourself is enough. To lighten the mood, she jokes that Jaina needs to fatten up so she can eat her later, making Michael yell at the old hag. Suddenly, a panicked mage bursts into the room, desperately calling for their attention. Michael's eyes glow with terrifying rage, asking if the guy has a death wish for interrupting them. Selvengia steps in, calmly asking the trembling mage for his report. He frantically stammers out that something happened to the child in the annex. Cut to the dusty annex, where a crowd of mages has gathered around a shocking scene. The scholars whisper among themselves, totally confused as to why a little kid is sprawled out in this deserted wing. They debate whether they should call for help or just leave her lying there in the heavy chains. One blonde mage points out the brutal restraining magic and the nasty bruises covering her. Realizing it's a blatant abduction, they are suddenly interrupted by a furious Michael shoving his way through the crowd. The mages part like the Red Sea as Michael and Selvengia march in. Selvengia immediately drops down to cradle the unconscious Jaina, while the room practically drops in temperature. Michael grits his teeth, looking absolutely feral as he demands to know who dared to lay a hand on her. His magic violently erupts, literally shaking the entire building and sending the mages into an absolute panic. Realizing he's about to level the place, Selvangia knows she has to reel him in. She screams at him to calm down before he brings the tower down on their heads. She firmly reminds him that flexing his power won't help, and they need to dispel the binding magic immediately. Michael takes a breath and awkwardly steps back, admitting healing magic really isn't his strong suit. Examining Jaina, Selvangia notes the dark bruises and chilling traces of an attack spell all over her tiny body. Deep in her unconscious mind, Jaina tragically reaffirms her belief that she is the only one keeping herself alive. Michael violently grinds his teeth, frustrated that she didn't listen to his warnings. Suddenly, Selvangia stands up, her elegant demeanor totally gone as she declares she can't hold back anymore. She orders Michael to take over Jaina's treatment while the surrounding mages tremble at her dark aura. With a dangerous gleam in her eye, she announces she's taking this straight to Jaina's father. Cut to Michael throwing open the doors to Diamuid's grand office, stating he has an urgent matter to discuss. The cold lord of the magic tower doesn't even look up, bluntly telling his nephew to speak. Michael reports that his daughter was found collapsed and deliberately targeted by their own mages. Diamuid finally looks over, his face like stone, asking what some dragon collapsing has to do with him. He ruthlessly claims dragons are an arrogant species anyway, so it would have been better if the kid just died. Michael snaps, yelling in her defense, but Diamuid glares back, warning him not to get swayed by cheap emotions. The Lord repeats his absolute denial, totally baffled as to why Michael cares so much about that thing. Diamuid's magical pressure cracks the air itself as he accuses Michael of actually sympathizing with the dragon. Michael pictures Jaina's lonely smile, admitting he just can't ignore a kid being left completely alone in the dark. Diamuid orders him to cast aside his personal feelings, claiming a different species deserves zero sympathy. But Michael stands his ground, firmly declaring that he will force a parent-child verification spell to prove her identity once and for all. Diamuid's eyes narrow into dangerous slits, commanding him to just answer one simple question. He coldly asks if Michael is speaking to him as a loyal mage of the magic tower right now. He reminds Michael that he was strictly ordered to just observe the dragon's biological traits as an experiment. Leaning forward, Diamuid points out that Michael is completely breaking protocol by trying to actively protect her. The Lord taps his fingers on the desk, chillingly stating that he might have completely overestimated his nephew. The dark-haired Lord of the Magic Tower glares down at the blonde-haired Michael, calling him pathetic for playing happy family. He aggressively asks if slightly bending the tower's rules is really that difficult. Michael tries to reason with him, pointing out that raising an orphan nephew isn't an obligation. But the Lord completely snaps, grabbing Michael by the collar and lifting him like a ragdoll. He ruthlessly brings up the past, mentioning a fool who died clinging to blood ties. He coldly reminds Michael that it was his own father who died trying to save him. A brief flashback shows the tragic, bloody sacrifice from their past. Dropping him to the floor, the Lord leaves Michael coughing and completely wrecked. Michael gasps for air, completely overwhelmed by the encounter. He curses his own powerlessness, desperate to protect the little kid with his own hands. Meanwhile, the rules of the Magic Tower strictly forbid inciting chaos, but mages often bend them during research season. Someone discovered that little Jaina is actually a dragon and decided to use her as a twisted experiment. The beautiful white-haired Selvangia watches over the unconscious girl, pondering her next move. Since Jaina isn't officially a member of the tower, the usual protection laws don't apply to her at all. As Jaina weakly shifts in her sleep, Selvangia wonders what the right choice is. She gently shushes the girl, offering a comforting touch to calm her down. She thinks back to the Black Knight dragon, Bezrich, who passed away shortly after Jaina's birth. Selvangia realizes the poor kid came all the way to the tower seeking out her mother. She notes that coming to look for her father was completely pointless, since he's worse than useless. Remembering Jaina's brave face, she knows the girl has been silently suffering inside. Feeling a bit soft in her old age, Selvangia admits childhood trauma can haunt a person forever. Suddenly, Michael announces his presence and steps into the room. He walks in looking absolutely exhausted from his confrontation. He confirms that the Lord doesn't care at all if the kid drops dead from the experiments. But Michael refuses to abandon her, fully prepared to defy the Lord's absolute orders to keep her safe. Hearing this, Selvangia smirks, finally agreeing that they are totally on the same page. She boldly tells Michael to step back and let her handle the dirty work this time. She assures him she's lived long enough to fear absolutely nothing, and punishing rule breakers is her job anyway. She chuckles to herself, admiring the fascinating little girl in the bed. Selvangia decides her peaceful retirement can wait because this kid needs proper care. Cut to the hallways where a blonde mage excitedly greets his beaten-up colleague Morven. Morven looks like he just went 12 rounds with a heavyweight, sweating buckets. The blonde mage gossips about the little girl who was recently found bound and unconscious in the annex. He warns Morven that Lord Michael and Lady Selvengia are completely out for blood because of it. Morven stammers out a nervous reply, clearly panicking on the inside. When asked about his missing glasses and bruised face, he quickly lies about a failed solo experiment. The blonde mage tells him to be careful, but Morven just brushes off the advice. He makes a swift exit, desperately needing to cover his tracks. In the shadows, Morven bites his nail, freaking out about leaving his glasses at the crime scene. But he quickly rationalizes that he can just make up a fake excuse. He figures the brat isn't even an official member of the tower anyway. Since the Lord didn't intervene, he assumes she's nothing more than a disposable test subject. Morven grins evilly, planning to just kill the kid and silence her for good. But before he can move, massive magical vines erupt from the ground and completely snatch him up. He's absolutely flabbergasted, realizing the woman who just cooks at the tower actually has crazy magic neutralizing powers. Selvengia appears through the mist, smiling menacingly as she corners her prey. Fast forward and Morven is chained up in a dark dungeon, desperately begging for mercy. He looks totally pathetic, crying like a massive baby after only being locked up for a week. Selvengia casually reminds him that he's only had water and zero sleep for a few days. She smiles ruthlessly, pointing out that Jaina definitely suffered way more than he is right now. Morven pathetically tries to make excuses, claiming he wasn't trying to harm the kid and just needed a little help. He sweats bullets, clearly lying through his teeth to save his own skin. But Selvengia isn't having any of it. She towers over his chained body, calling out his obvious plan to kill the girl once she outlived her usefulness. Morven looks completely stunned as Selvengia tells him to shut up and save his breath. She dangles his missing glasses like a massive flex, revealing she watched his entire crime through her tracking magic. Caught red-handed, Morven completely folds and begs for his life. Selvengia just shushes him, suggesting he can still help her out after all. She pulls out a highly suspicious, glowing purple potion. She casually mentions that if anything goes horribly wrong, she'll just heal him right back up. Dripping a terrifying black slime onto him, she gives him a taste of his own medicine, forcing him to become her personal test subject. She flashes a wicked smile, totally enjoying the payback. Meanwhile, inside Jaina's mind, she's floating through a dark, starry void. She looks completely lost, wondering where she is and where she's supposed to go. Surrounded by shattered fragments, she reflects on how she never truly belonged anywhere in her past or current life. Giving up, she figures it would be easier to just sink into the darkness and let go. But suddenly, a warm voice breaks through, calling her the precious fruit of her love. A flashback triggers, showing a beautiful woman holding baby Jaina gently in her arms. It's her birth mother, admiring her daughter's gorgeous eyes. The mom smiles softly, noting that the baby's blue eyes look exactly like her father's. The memory shifts to an older horned woman confronting the mother about a deadly curse. The horned woman looks down in pity, stating the mother threw her life away just to have a human male's child. She stands elegantly as the mother bleeds out on the bed. Coughing up blood, Jaina's mother desperately begs the woman Urich to take care of her baby. She knows the dragon clan won't accept a half-blood, but she just wants her child to survive. The mother demands she swear on the dragon tribe's oath, leaving Urich totally speechless. Present Jaina groans in her sleep as the heavy memories flood her mind. The vision shows baby Jaina crying her lungs out. The dying mother tears up, admitting she originally wasn't afraid of death. But as she holds her baby's tiny hand, she confesses she's suddenly terrified of leaving. With her final breath, she apologizes for leaving her baby behind. Floating in the void, Jaina realizes she doesn't remember any of this from the original novel she read. She figures these must be hidden fragments of her forgotten past life. The overwhelming memories start swirling around her, making her dizzy. Suddenly, a loud voice cuts through the dream, yelling at someone and calling them an old hag. Jaina blinks her eyes open, completely confused as the voice complains that she's going to die at this rate. It's Michael, absolutely losing his mind at Selvengia because Jaina has been unconscious for 10 straight days. Jaina looks around blankly, realizing she's back in a real bed while the adults bicker. She weakly croaks out their names, instantly freezing both of them in their tracks. Instinctively, she flinches, fully expecting Michael to start screaming at her again. Instead, Michael rushes in, yelling about how insanely worried he was. Selvengia stands nearby, letting out a huge sigh of relief. Shoving Michael out of the way like an absolute boss, Selvengia checks on Jaina, who admits she actually feels refreshed. But Jaina is totally stunned to hear she was knocked out for 10 days, thinking it was just a long nap. Looking away, Michael awkwardly mutters an apology under his breath. Jaina leans in, asking him to speak up because he's mumbling. Flustered, Michael loudly apologizes for yelling at her the last time they spoke. He guiltily admits that if he hadn't left her alone, none of this would have happened. Jaina stares at him, piecing together that these two already know all about the attack. Her eyes widen in panic as she suddenly remembers the rogue mage. She nervously asks if there was another guy in the room when she collapsed, making both Michael and Selvangia flinch hard. Selvangia tries to brush the tension off, casually offering the girl some food before she heads out. But Jaina isn't letting it go, demanding to know exactly what they did to Morven. Michael tries to deflect, wondering why she keeps bringing that creep up. Jaina fiercely insists on seeing him in person, but Selvangia shuts that down instantly. She calmly mentions they already took care of it, so Jaina will literally never see him again. Michael nervously chips in, claiming the Tower Lord totally approved of their actions. Jaina calls his bluff, knowing she's not even a member of the Tower, but Michael tells her to stay out of adult matters. She immediately marches toward the door, threatening to ask the Tower Lord herself. Michael panics and blocks her path, but Selvangia finally steps in to stop the chaos. She sighs and drops the truth bomb. They punished Morven without the Lord's permission. Jaina feels a massive wave of guilt, realizing they took a huge risk just for her. She sincerely thanks them both, but begs them never to do something that reckless again. Selvangia smiles warmly, telling her she doesn't need to worry about them anymore. But then she playfully fakes a pout, acting totally wounded by Jaina's lecture. She notes that Jaina looks way too fragile for them not to worry about her. Strolling away like an absolute queen, Selvangia admits the kid has some serious small animal charm. She smirks, already plotting exactly how to earn her little squirrel's trust. Fast forward a week to the bustling central market just outside the Magic Tower. Michael wanders through the crowd, complaining about the old hag calling him out here. But instead of Selvangia, he spots little Jaina standing all by herself. He looks completely confused, asking what she's doing out here. Jaina explains she was helping Lady Selvangia buy ingredients until she mysteriously got lost. Michael pulls out his letter, saying the old hag told him to meet her right at this spot. Opening it up, he realizes the map is gone, replaced with a cheeky note telling them to enjoy their time together. Watching from afar, Selvangia gives a thumbs up as Michael realizes he got totally played. Jaina awkwardly apologizes for the mix-up. But Michael just sighs and holds his hand out, telling her not to get lost again. Jaina softly thanks him, grabbing his massive hand. Being a total tsundere, Michael quickly claims he's not following the hag's plan, just taking a leisurely stroll. He makes up an excuse, calling this training to learn the harsh realities of the human world. Wanting to do something fun for a kid, he scans the market stalls. He calls out to her, catching her attention. Pointing to a nearby booth, he asks if she knows how to throw darts. Cut to the announcer hyping up the crowd for the dart competition. He introduces their first-time participant, and Jaina steps up to the line. The highest scorer gets to pick any prize they want, and Jaina grips the dart nervously. Sweating buckets, she admits she joined on a whim and has literally never thrown a dart before. Michael offers some highly questionable encouragement, telling her she's dead meat if she loses. A guy in the crowd watches them, thinking it's just cute that a kid is trying to play. Suddenly, bam, Jaina lands a perfect bullseye followed by another one. Make that 3, she completely wrecks the board, getting a record-breaking high score on her very first try. Michael crosses his arms, looking unbelievably smug as he flexes his younger sibling's skills. He chuckles and glances over at the reigning champion, Dartrish. Dartrish's buddy teases him, asking if he's really going to lose the prize money to a child. Dartrish gets super defensive, declaring he'll wipe the floor with her in no time. The announcer calls the confident champion up to the stage. Dartrish steps up, fully ready to show off and put Jaina in her place. He winds up his throw, acting like this is absolutely nothing special. But right as he steps forward, a flash of Michael's blue magic grabs his ankle and he eats dirt, completely face-splinting. He looks up like a deer in headlights, totally baffled that he just tripped on thin air. The dart champion looks completely baffled, wondering how he magically tripped over his own feet. Meanwhile, Michael discreetly disperses his blue magic, looking unbelievably smug. The crowd absolutely roasts the champion, laughing that he resorted to weird tricks because he couldn't beat a little kid. The announcer officially declares Jaina the winner of the dart competition. While the former champ cries in the background, Jaina is told she can choose absolutely any prize she wants. The announcer dramatically gestures to the grand prize table. The table is completely stacked with high-tier loot, like a mana-imbued magic vault and specialized devices. But Jaina stares at the table, realizing she doesn't actually need any of that fancy stuff. She points her tiny finger and makes her choice, completely confusing the announcer. The announcer looks at her like she just grew a second head. Jaina insists, firmly stating she wants that specific item. The announcer hands over a basic teddy bear, absolutely flabbergasted that she chose a mere participation reward. Michael sighs, calling kids predictable for leaving the great prizes behind, though Jaina only played because Michael lent her the entry fee. She looks up at him and directly calls him out for secretly using magic to trip the champion. She scolds him like an absolute boss, telling the grown adult that competitions should be fair and his petty revenge was a total mess. Later, they stop at a candy shop where a friendly vendor greets Jaina. The vendor sweetly asks if she's out having fun with her older brother. Michael completely freezes up at the word brother, while the vendor offers Jaina a free handmade candy. Jaina happily pops the candy into her mouth. The vendor tells her to go beg her brother to buy her the whole jar. Jaina turns to Michael, asking if he's sick because his face is totally red and he's coughing aggressively. Catching on, the vendor panics, realizing they might not actually be siblings. The vendor stammers out an apology, assuming they aren't close, but Michael immediately glares and demands he say it again. The poor vendor is terrified as Michael steps up, asking if he just said they weren't close. Michael starts leaking a terrifying dark aura as the vendor desperately apologizes for the misunderstanding. Michael completely snaps, yelling that it doesn't matter if he's her brother or not while Jaina watches him lose his mind. Realizing this is about to escalate into a massive public brawl, Jaina knows she has to do something fast. She grabs a jar of candy and loudly begs her brother Michael to buy it for her. Hitting him with the ultimate puppy dog eyes, she asks if she can try the other flavors too. The word brother hits Michael like a freight train, completely stunning him into silence. Blushing furiously, he covers his mouth and stammers, totally short-circuiting on the spot. Jaina still thinks he's genuinely sick, but she's just glad she stopped the fight in time. Cut to later, Jaina is holding a massive bag of candy, wondering if she can eat it all in one day. Michael is now carrying multiple huge sacks of sweets like a whipped servant, strictly telling her she can only have one a day. Jaina immediately starts negotiating, asking for 3 candies a day instead. Michael smirks and generously allows her to have 2, which totally makes her day. Popping another sweet into her mouth, Jaina tastes the sugar. She realizes that at 2 a day, it's going to take a really long time to get through all this candy. She thinks about all the different flavors and shapes they bought from the shops. Smiling softly, she realizes this small luxury is actually making her look forward to tomorrow. Later, standing overlooking the town, Michael brings up the fact that she can barely use magic. He confidently declares that starting today, he's going to be her magic teacher. When Jaina looks shocked, Michael gets a little defensive, asking if she doesn't trust him. Jaina quickly clarifies that she's just surprised by the offer. She knows it's extremely rare for a magician to teach someone magic directly like this. Michael gets serious, telling her she needs to learn to protect herself if she wants to survive in the tower. Going into full teacher mode, he explains that magicians have specific elemental attributes they're bound to. He reveals he has the sky attribute, summoning a swirling vortex of blue wind magic right into his hand to totally flex his power. The magic glows brightly as he asks Jaina if she wants to try it out for herself. Gently guiding her, he tells her to put her hands together and close her eyes to begin her first lesson. Michael tells Jaina to focus her mind and carefully gather her mana into a sphere. He praises her as a small wisp of magic forms in her hands, guiding her to draw in the wind. Jaina concentrates hard, slowly pulling the blue energy together. Michael tries to be a supportive teacher, assuring her not to be discouraged if her magic is small since attributes are randomly inherited. But suddenly, Michael's eyes go completely wide. Jaina's magic wildly flares up, swirling into an intense, massive vortex. Michael is pushed back, shocked that she's pulling all the surrounding wind toward her, wondering if her dragon blood is making her mana go crazy. But as the energy surges, Michael realizes this isn't just dragon magic at all. He recognizes that overwhelming dark aura. It's the exact same mana signature as Lord Diamuid, basically confirming she's the Tower Lord's daughter. Snapping back to reality, Michael yells at Jaina to cancel her spell because her mana is completely overflowing. Jaina panics, totally losing control of the wild storm in her hands. Michael desperately tells her to just release the mana, so she opens her palms. But instead of throwing it away, she accidentally blasts it straight downward. The recoil creates a massive tornado, launching Jaina into the air like a literal rocket. She goes flying high above the magic tower, completely terrified by the sudden altitude. She realizes transforming into a dragon won't save her because her baby wings are way too small to fly. Jaina thinks it's totally unfair that she survived a rogue mage just to die from a botched magic lesson a few days later. She frantically tries to regain control, but the wind completely rejects her mana. Down below, Michael screams in pure panic as he watches her plummet. Meanwhile, down in the marketplace, some random citizens look up, totally confused by the noise. They watch in utter shock as Jaina crashes straight down from the sky. Miraculously, Jaina sits up, dizzy but realizing she somehow survived the crazy fall. But she quickly notices the horrified faces of the crowd and realizes she didn't actually hit the ground. She scrambles away, apologizing profusely to the guy she just squashed like a pancake. Checking on him, she completely freaks out when she realizes his breathing is super faint. But a nearby woman casually tells Jaina not to worry about it because the guy totally deserved it. Jaina is super confused by the cold reaction. But then she spots a fancy jeweled crown spilling right out of the crushed man's bag. The crowd cheers, praising the little mage for taking down a notorious marketplace pickpocket. Jaina is totally bewildered that she accidentally became a local hero. Suddenly, a fancy pair of shoes steps into view, and a boy announces he'll explain everything. Jaina looks up and is instantly starstruck by how absolutely gorgeous this new kid is. He gently takes her hand, thanking her profusely because that thief had stolen his precious family treasure. Jaina glances at the extravagant crown, realizing it's a huge deal. She blushes hard, completely flustered because this pretty boy just casually kissed the back of her hand. Looking at his elegant clothes, she wonders if this absolute charmer belongs to some super wealthy noble house.